Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to share with you a clip from a recent members only live event. And in this conversation, I'm talking with one of my guests about Bitcoin and my view and vision for its long-term success. Even though I do think there'll be significant bear market moments that are yet to come for that coin, I would want to be a long-term buyer of it. And the same is true in Splinterlands. And we see that, I'll draw that connection in the video where I'm saying Splinterlands right now, the assets have been tumbling. SPS is way down. Card collections are plummeting in value, but yet I want to be a buyer. I want to be a contrarian. I want to go the opposite of most people, and I think with good reason. So I'm looking at the marketplace and I'm trying to see ways I can sell one thing that's been maybe held its value and look for a different option that might have a lower price point than I think makes a lot of sense. It's a bit of a bargain hunting video. If that sounds interesting, stick around, stay tuned, like and subscribe. Look at this. There are 2.4 million cryptos, as opposed to 1,000 that used to exist. So I no longer believe all will go up. All that said, I am confident in Bitcoin in the short and medium term and even long term, but I'm not looking to buy it. At this moment, I wouldn't look to buy it unless it was a significant declines. And I think huge price declines are possible. I think lots of people don't think so. I think lots of people think Bitcoin will stay 50, 60,000 forevermore, like it's now institutionally adopted, and you know the ETFs and whatnot will never allow it to fall. I don't really buy that narrative. I'm pretty convinced we're going to see huge declines again, and you'll hear people say Bitcoin is dead, and that'll be a moment where I'll want to buy more of it. It's just the same attitude I bring to Splinterlands, and it's why like right now I want to I'm trying everything I can to double down and find ways to get more, but there just isn't more to be had. Like I'm too broke for that. Ooh, that's fun. My card collection was listed for $21,000 yesterday or the day before. Now it's at almost 28,000. That's my owned cards. I don't know why the card differential has grown so much, but it's a lot lower than it used to be. So I want to find ways to get more, right? I'm not scared by this. I'm annoyed by it, but I'm not scared by it. Riftwatcher card prices have really fallen. See, this is the thing. It's like, if there were cards we wanted, now would be the time. If there were cards you've been wanting and you just haven't been able to pull the trigger on, now is the time to try and figure that out. And I know there's not a ton of liquidity. No one's sitting on a huge bag of money, really. Like if we were, we would have already spent it on cool things that we wanted in Splinterlands or elsewhere. But there's some amazing cards. Like $8 for a Coral Lurker. I only have a level 3 of this guy. $77 for this tank, man. And it's a very strong tank. I only have level 3, which doesn't have thorns. It lacks 1 hit point too. I mean, there's some real reasons to pay attention and try and find an amazing card. And I don't think these prices will stay there for very long. Or they're not going to stay there forever. And then this is crazy. A maxed out C-Rec for $74, $6.70 per BCX. And then the next closest one is $8.30. And the next closest one is $9.50. And individual BCX are selling for $12. I consider this a really, really strong purchase. Now, I don't even own that card. And you might say, well, Riftwatchers isn't going to be in Modern for long, and Modern is where cards hold value, and I get all that. But to me, I'm not just about Modern or not just about Wild. I'm about enjoying the game. I'm also a collector. I see sometimes the value can be higher than the price, even when you think that the price maybe isn't sustainable, or like across 2 years, 3 years, the price isn't necessarily going to continue to persist at a high level. Maybe it's going to persist at a while for like 6 months or a year. And that changes maybe your timelines, but maybe not the price or the utility. And these gold foils too. Gold foil legendaries, $35. I'm very interested in that. I bought a couple of these Mortiuses the other day for $35. Yeah. I don't even love that card, but again, gold foil legendaries are very special, very rare. And Riftwatchers is extremely, what do we sell? 1 million, 2 million packs? It is worth paying attention to. If the game is, everything comes back to if the game is not actually dead or dying. And I don't think it is. And I'm still having fun with it. And so if you have that confidence in a moment like this where these cards haven't ever been this low, that has to then guide your choices. Either we're continuing to walk in confidence and optimism about the future potential for Splinterlands and the direction and their capacity and aptitude and ability to reach that ultimate goal, or we're dissuaded, we're discouraged, we don't believe. Those are the two choices. We either believe or we don't believe. And if we believe, then we should be paying attention to moments, opportunities like this. Chaos Legion legendaries are cheap, but these are so much more printed. Like a Jin Murat at 24 bucks. That's interesting because like that's a great legendary, and that's a great price. And you can, for less than 100 bucks, you can get a maxed out Jin Murat legendary. Great card, but it's a Chaos Legion, which will rotate out of Modern sooner, which theoretically should harm its value in the medium term, not the short term. Maybe not the long term, but in the medium term. And then also it's a Chaos Legion, which makes it far more common. We have 1,400 of this gold foil card, BCX, versus Mordius or Rune Master, which we have 400 copies of. So the scarcity of these Rift Watchers is so much dramatically different. And so it's not just about what will be more beneficial for me to play with and how can I win more, like which card's going to help me in the short term, like from a play position. It's also that collectability and that scarcity and the long term, I would argue utility and price. It's going to allow gold foil tournaments. It's going to allow gold foil brawls. It's going to allow, increased land rewards or whatnot. And then of course, Rebellion's an interesting conversation too, but I would argue Rebellion are inflated because of and I've said this before, because of the Mage Wagons. The Mage Wagons give all of these cards, all of the Rebellion cards, an increased usefulness that will not persist. That might mean that the Rebellion cards are overpriced and that those prices will fall. And yet it might not, because that's one consideration. The Mage Wagons disappearing is one future consideration that could suggest that these cards go lower. But you have to weigh that against, you have to put that on the scales with the opposing idea, which is that we could see sort of a bull market moment for Splinterlands, an increased player base, increased card demand, etc., all of which would allow demand to persist for Rebellion. And so that would offset or fight against that first and contrary concern. And so I don't really know what to do with Rebellion. I'm kind of approaching it on like a as needed basis. And I've bought some of them and I'm using them on the Mage Wagons, but I'm increasingly starting to decide, to rethink whether or not that makes sense. Because I've got cards on the Mage Wagon that are quite valuable. And, I am one of the only people in the entire game probably. I have a max Red Worm Dragon, which is a great card. Flying, immunity, stun, 11 hit points, 6 armor, 6 speed. Flying with 6 speed, it's crazy. This card is great. It's a great card. And I have a max copy. There's only 4 BCX on the marketplace. There's only 422 BCX that exist. There's only 221 cards that exist. This card is very scarce. And I bought mine for about $28 a BCX, or 27 to 28. And so now it's like, maybe I could list it for this and just kind of liquidate. And yes, I would be surrendering, a large number of Mage Wagon points. But like, these are thoughts that one has to think in trying to extract or, gain. Like I'm trying to scratch and claw to get further along in my progression. It's not just about acquiring more assets. It's about managing your existing portfolio so that you buy low and sell high across all of these things, across all time. And you're going to get some of that right and you're going to get some of that wrong. But I do kind of think, it makes sense to look at these things. Like let's look at my Rebellion. My Rebellion cards have really held their value. In fact, I bought about $1,500 of Rebellion cards and around $2,400 now. Maybe it was $1,700, something like that. So they've gone up, unlike all of my other assets. So as I look at these cards, ooh, I can get a level 2. What's level 2 do for me? Get the Magic Reflect. 1 more hit point. This is a card I really want to max out. That's a card I want to max out because when I rent it, it has a great deal of success for me. But like I said, Rebellion don't feel affordable right now. They feel, I would say, downright expensive. The next level is pretty interesting with the Reflection Shield and even the Redemption at 1 level, and you get 2 more hit points at 1 more hit point per level. It's a very strong, sustainable, like it's a great meat shield for 4 mana. Yeah, I'm actively thinking about what I'm going to do with my Rebellion cards. Not that I want to sell them, not that I even think you should sell them, but here's the point. Here's an interesting consideration I want you guys to think about. Some of my Rebellion cards have held their value, others have gone up in value in the last 3 months. In that same window of time, some of the Chaos Legion cards or Riftwatcher cards or Untamed cards have fallen through the floor in value. So if on one hand you have an asset that has held its ground, hasn't or gained ground in sort of in price, US dollar price, and then there's these other assets that you find desirable, enjoyable, that you truly want to own, and they've fallen by half their value. It really makes a lot of sense to stop and think, do I sell the asset that's held this value and buy some more of the assets that have lost value? It's potentially risky because you might be catching what people call in the trading world catching a falling knife. But as I look at, the scarcity within Splinterlands, and specifically like around Riftwatcher cards, or if we look at, maybe it's mostly Riftwatchers. Or even maybe it's Untamed as well. Certain cards carry a significant value. Value meaning like their intrinsic usefulness. And while their price falls and falls and falls, at some point I go, I don't exactly want it for a future price appreciation. I want it for its usefulness, like Byzantine Kitty, like Dr. Blight. Man, Dr. Blight's been falling. Legendary neutral, there it is. $12. $12 per BCX. In fact, $11.40 per BCX. $125 for a max Dr. Blight. This is one of the best cards in the game, and I know it's gonna rotate out with Chaos Legion, and so some people think that means it's gonna, die and never be valuable. There certainly are a lot of BCX of it. So again, but if you just want some of the best cards in the game, and if those prices are falling and falling and falling, and if you believe that the game will have future adoption and growth in player base, then it kind of makes sense to stop and say, well, if everyone is selling, do I want to be a buyer in that? And if Rebellion is holding its value, do I want to be a seller in that? I think at some time in the future that might be a meaningful choice to make. Dr. Blight is certainly one of those cards that deserves respect and sort of, I don't know if sometimes, I don't think $120 for that card is indicating its real significant value. Whoa, $240 for a Lux Vega. From a utility standpoint, this is, in my opinion, it's one of the best cards in the game. And I don't own a Lux Vega anymore. And I sold my Lux Vega around $1,000. And here we go for $250. I mean, man, it's super tempting to buy that. Yes, the BCX are quite high, but the total cards is not, because remember, they're all max levels. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's hard to think this stuff through, but these are conversations I want to constantly have with myself and for you guys, because it's like, I think this is something we don't necessarily do. We often think if something is going up in value, I want more of it. If something's going down in value, I want less of it. And I want to slow down and say, is that really the way we want to do it? Because if that's what everyone's doing, and most people end up losing when they invest in things, Do I want to be like most people? And I think usually the answer is no. I think I'm going to clip that and turn it into like a, you know, bargain hunt conversation video. So